Hey guys. So I just realized that I didn't put out a Pick'Ems video yet, so I'm gonna record this now real quick. I've already kind of done this already and worked it out in my head on stream before. So for the 3-0 advanced spots, I was thinking FaZe and Spirit are probably pretty safe bets. We're not going to see Spirit and FaZe going off against each other unless there's some really weird thing that happens somewhere around. Just like some weird upsets have to happen for it to play out that way. There are a few teams that are able to beat FaZe, but not many. I think like Vitality would be one of them. I think G2 would be one of them. I think Spirit would be one of them, but they don't have to play Spirit. And Spirit, if it's BO1s, they're probably not going to have to play Vertigo, even though they look better on it. So they're just pretty much going through. I don't see anyone really being able to beat them if they're able to pick whatever their strongest maps are. So those two are a lock. For the 0-3s, I was thinking Furia going down here. They can beat some teams, but they don't look very strong. They look shaky all throughout uh, the RMR. They look shaky here in the opening stage. So I'm thinking like, are they finally done or what's going on? For the other one that goes into the slot, I was like really struggling to figure out who it would be going to. I think Complexity playing in the opening round against Pain Gaming. I think it could go either way from there. I have no idea. It just really depends. Like, are you getting the version of Complexity that can get second at IEM Sydney, or are you getting the Elysian Friends where Elysia's there dragging everyone across the finish line? And I don't know what version I'm gonna get, but I think that they might actually beat Pain in the opening game, which means that they wouldn't end up down there. So we'll have to wait and see about that. For the 3-1-3-2, I was thinking you have to put in Vitality. They had a really bad result, obviously, at Katowice, but I think, looking at how they play, they do have a lot of like the whole package stuff. They can win championships and they can take out other elite top 5 teams consistently. So I feel like I have to put them up there. I think Mouse has looked really good on form. They were even able to, crack out Spirit once. So I think that's always looking pretty good. They had pretty good form in Katowice. They were kind of like a quiet team that no one really expects to do super well, but then they're up there. They're like battling with the best. I think that you have to start putting in teams like G2. I know everyone's like, well, it really comes down to, is Nico going to show up or is he not going to show up? If he shows up, then Monazi has someone else to play the game with. It's not like Complexity where it's, you have Elige, but then like, where's everyone else? It's like if Nico is able to show up, then things are going to be going better for them. And I know that they are able to take out other elite teams. They're able to take out FaZe, for example. They did it at the RMR, but that requires Nico to show up. What version of G2 we're going to get, don't know yet. But I think it's pretty safe to say that at the worst, they're going to qualify 3-2. And then for the last 3 spots, I was thinking it's got to be like Virtus Pro is a team that's just really consistent at beating everyone under them, but they're really not consistent at beating all the top 5 teams. So I think they're going to nestle themselves somewhere in the middle. Going back a couple months to Katowice, they looked not great. But if you look at all the form before and after that, I think you have to say that they advance. Whether they go deep into the tournament after that, I don't know. Heroic is also one of those teams, which is funny because you think that they have such a high peak, but then they can also crumble. I think they've looked really well in the opening stage. They look to have refound themselves. So they're looking pretty good. And I think the last team I'm going to put up there is Navi. I think Navi is a team that, as again with the other teams recently, they've just not really had the most greatest form, but they're an elite team as well. I think they're somewhere in the middle of the pack. They're not going to be one of those teams that's just like top 16. They're probably top 8 still, but you never know what version they're going to get. So who am I leaving out? Eternal Fire. I thought they were going to be way better in the opening stage, but they did not really impress me that much. I even had them on my fantasy team. They didn't look that good. Cloud9 is another team that they did really well in the opening stage. They crushed it, but they're a team where it's kind of like Virtus Pro, where they're going to beat the teams that are worse than them. But I think there's just way too many teams here that are good that they're going to find themselves probably down here. And that's my guess. I think Complexity is going to find themselves down in like the 1-3 pool. I think Ecstatic, I feel like they had a decently easy path going through the opening stage. They definitely dodged some bullets. Imperial looked good, but then they also looked bad. Pain looked good, but they've also not looked the greatest. They didn't look super great in the RMR. There were some weird games in the opening stage. I think their win against Ents also was like the scoreline makes it look way worse than it actually is. So I think right now I have to, just figuring out who goes in this last 0-3 spot is just like it could be a coin flip. I would probably say, though, it would be end of line for either Complexity, but I think they probably etch out a win, one of the BO1s. I think they beat Pain in one of the BO1s. It could be Mongols. I think that might be the end of the line for them. So I think it could go either any of these teams that are Cloud9 or Eternal Fire. I feel like Eternal Fire or Cloud9, they don't just flame out right now. It's a toss up between one of these teams. I'm just gonna go and put Mongols. You're out. Peace. So for my HLTV fantasy that I was gonna do here, I was originally looking down at like, okay, who are gonna be in my 3-0 group, and then maybe even who are gonna be one of the teams that goes like 3-1. So I was thinking immediately like, okay, maybe FaZe and Spirit. I was looking at them. I've done Zontic's Chopper before. They did pretty well for me. And then, I was thinking like, oh, I could also do like Kerrigan plus like Brokey or Rops because they can perform pretty well. And then with my, 205, I could get someone from Mouse. They're probably going to do well. Exertion's always good. Is there something I can do? I could drop Brokey, get Rain instead. I could go for Yimfat or Brawlin instead. So I was like thinking down this path, and I was thinking like, this could work. Then I was thinking like, well, it's Ziwu 242 versus Donk 250. It's not the, semifinals and the grand finals, so there's not that pressure on Ziwu that he'll have the Swiss format Ziwu just farming everyone too. So is there like potential to do something like this and then do something? And then I was thinking like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. It's wild, but Donk, BO1s, doesn't have to play Vertigo. Okay. Vertigo, they've been better at. So I feel like I grab him, but he's taken up so much of my budget. What I was able to do, and it works out perfectly, is Kerrigan's dirt cheap. FaZe is going to qualify. Chopper's pretty cheap. He has decent stats too, and they're going to, advance. And then I could also grab, I have 376k remaining. I can get Apex and Shui. I get the IGLs plus Donk. Okay. All right. So I get all of these guys. And then when I went through the stuff, I was thinking like, okay, Donk, multi-fragger, 81%. Okay. 81%. He's going to hit big with this. That's going to give you stats. He does multi-frag. I was thinking give Kerrigan the leader role. FaZe is going to get the 3-0. They're going to advance with the 3-0, so might as well give it to him. Chopper is great with using SMGs. He's going to have 60% chance of hitting his big bonus, and then, overall he's hitting 97%. Like, that's a no-brainer. But Apex on the support, he doesn't have the biggest of the big hits, but combined 85% is pretty strong. And then I was thinking, put Shui on noob. While his team is really good, they're going to probably advance in like the 3-1 pool. If they, somehow the stars align and go 3-0, whatever. But Shui doesn't play the greatest against other top 5 opponents, even top 10 opponents, and that's all he's going to be against. So even though they're going to win, I don't think he's going to have really good stats. So the way I balance it out is they go against Ecstatic first and they might win this. So I was thinking, okay, well, I just put him on Mr. Consistent. He'll, this is probably going to be a walk in the park for Mao. So I'm just like, I'll just throw this booster on him to counteract the, potential penalty that I might get if he has a good game here. And then for the rest, I don't know, Apex has 62% Kobe. Bait, he gets traded. Dunk's going to trade him probably. Kerrigan, bottom of the scoreboard. I mean, that's pretty easy. He's against Heroic as well, so it's not like they're playing against a bad team. It's a pretty decent matchup for the first game. So Kerrigan, he has big plays here and there, but he's also going to be towards the bottom of the scoreboard because he's entering a lot. He's doing a lot of aggressive lurks and playmakes. So he gets caught out of position a lot, and he ends up dying a lot. He uses shitty guns compared to his teammates a lot. So I just figured he's probably not going to have the greatest stats. So that was my fantasy too.